Hello and welcome to this video about Spartimer. I'm Paul Hill and I came up with the idea for Spartimer when our triathlon club wanted to run some small events. Spartimer is a handheld chip reader which is used to manually scan wristbands that are worn by the athletes. To time a race or training session, you need one or more Spartimers and a Windows computer with Excel installed, which will run the Spartimer spreadsheet. Briefly, you use Spartimer to record the start time of the race, or if you have multiple waves or heats, the start time of each wave, and then to record each athlete's time as they reach the end of the swim, transition, cycle, etc. When the race is finished, you connect each Spartimer to the computer using a USB cable and offload the times into the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is then used to produce the results. So now let's have a look at the Spartimer device itself. Press the on-off button briefly and it powers on instantly and is ready right away. I'll jump forward to scanning wristbands and come back to synchronisation and race starts later. You press the button corresponding to the discipline you're timing. That button will then be flashing. The reason we select the disciplines is that the recorded times are labelled correspondingly so that they can easily be identified when they're read into the spreadsheet. You can instantly change which discipline you are recording anytime you like. I'll do a few scans to give you an idea how quickly it scans. So that's how easy it is for the timekeepers out on the course to record athletes' times. Now I have to show you a couple of important steps that must be done first. The first step is synchronisation. Before the start of the race, you must synchronise the Spartimers. This is done manually by pressing the correct buttons. Even if you only have one Spartimer, you must still do the synchronisation step. There is a facility in the spreadsheet to automatically synchronise Spartimers that are all connected to the computer at the same time. Personally, I prefer the manual method. One advantage is that other backup systems, for example stopwatches, can then be synchronised at the same time. Just to explain, synchronisation causes two things to happen. The internal clock is reset to start counting from 0, and the internal memory pointer is reset to the start of the memory. Right, so how do we synchronise? The two buttons in the top row, indicated by sync, are pressed simultaneously with a good deliberate press. It doesn't need to be that long, I just mean don't do a quick stab. But first, we have to enable the synchronisation. There's a good reason for this. I'll leave it for you to imagine the consequences of someone accidentally pressing those two buttons when they shouldn't. To enable the synchronisation, press the bottom three buttons one after the other from left to right. Now the two synchronisation buttons are flashing. This prompts us as to the buttons to use next. We now have 1 minute to perform the synchronisation. Now the two outer buttons in the bottom row are flashing. This prompts us to record start next, which brings us to the second important step, starting the race or starting waves and heats. These two outer buttons, indicated by start, are pressed simultaneously with a good deliberate press, the same as we did for synchronisation. After starting, now select which discipline you're going to time next. Spartimer has defaulted to swim, and you're ready to scan wristbands. And if there are multiple waves to start off, then just press the two buttons again. You'll get a better idea of how the whole process comes together when we look at downloading the data to the spreadsheet in the next video. But before I finish this video, I'll explain a few other details. Batteries. Spartimer runs on 4 rechargeable NIMH batteries. The battery life is approximately 24 hours depending on the actual batteries you buy, since there are a variety of mAh ratings available. There will be an audible warning when the batteries are low. You can swap the batteries out for fresh ones during the event if you have to, without losing data. The memory that stores the data is EEPROM, which is non-volatile, meaning it does not require power to retain the data. When Spartimer is powered off, whether because you are changing the batteries or you have switched it off, the clock continues to run. This is because there is a coin cell inside a standard CR2032 to provide backup power to the clock chip. When this internal battery backup is low, the on-off button will start flashing. This battery has a life of several years and can be replaced by the user. The user interface has been kept as simple as possible, and programmable options have been avoided to minimise the possibility of operator error. So you may be asking, how do I adapt Spartimer for different applications, triathlon, duathlon, etc.? The answer is that the labels for the buttons can be slid out from the front panel and replaced by other labels. For example, here are the buttons labelled up for timing a CSS test. I hope that isn't too much information to take in. It's really quite simple to operate, but I do recommend practicing on some club training sessions before attempting something more ambitious. One tip I have for you is that if you're wondering how to apply Spartimer in your application, think of how you would do it using stopwatches and pen and paper. The Spartimer approach is going to be very similar. We'll look at downloading the data to the spreadsheet in the next video.